Okay, today is Friday, July 7th, 2017. It's Friday, so there's not a ton of things going on today. Could be worse, but could be better. And I'm starting off late today, and I'll show you some things about starting off late. So let's stick these to the top here so they don't disappear while I'm drawing on them. And let's do the charts. First of all, what happened overnight? This is the NASDAQ. And we're not back far enough. Okay, so we had a neutral night, and then a bullish bang off in the morning. Call this the top. Call this the upward trend. Okay, so what happened here was we fell up and then fell down here. We broke through support. They changed their minds. Now look how far this is off of the VWAP and the 34 EMA in both cases. So this is fairly bullish, and it's climbing each time. See this? That's a bull rut right there. Okay. Quick tail. Okay, so things fell down and then it got popped hard. Bulls are interested there. Now, kind of not seeing anything that says, well, we shouldn't be buying right now. And if that thing breaks out there, I'm expecting there to be no reason for there to be a ton of selling on top. So there could be a pretty good breakout, bear trap. You know, there's going to be some stops up here. It's hit this many times. Okay, there's probably some good stops up there. Okay, so the S&P 500 E-mini is just about the same. Just look overnight, see that it's about the same. Yesterday was just a neutral range day. Overnight was the same thing. Today on the S&P 500 E-mini, you got the exact same scenario on the NASDAQ. You got the trend highs, higher lows. You got look at these. These are quick tails. So every time this thing falls in, what happens? The bulls give it up, right? So kind of thinking that there's going to be a breakout here on these equities. Yep, gonna buy that. Well, this is also the kind of thing that you might sell, right? So it's taking off right now, right? And the thing is, though, is if it starts to drop back in, I kind of want to see if I can get a piece of it as it tests lower again. It may come down here and bounce off this another time, or it may just fail. I don't know.
See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s 1960s represent the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished.
Alright, I'm gonna give it that. So effectively I'm flat right here. I want to put my stop, I suppose, just 3 ticks up there. Okay. It pops me out, it's probably going. There we go. Alright. So if it blows out the top here, right, we're in business. Okay, S&P 500 is breaking out. There it goes. That broke out. And there is some liquidity hanging right over the top. Just right up here at... I'm looking at the wrong market. The wrong heat map. Okay, so it did break through some liquidity. I'm going to take that right there. There we go. Alright, so that's enough magic on that trade. So basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for this to do, you know, something else. Right? I don't need to wait to see if this thing goes forever. All I need to do is grab this little, you know, this little sure thing right here, right? Because if I'm waiting, this thing may come back in. I don't know. And that's the worst possible scenario, right? If it comes back in. So, whatever anybody else ever taught you, okay, you know, don't get too greedy over every single tick on this chart. Just take what you got and run. Okay? You know, you don't have to try to play I promise myself to get every single tick on the chart today. It's a losing game. It never wins. And well, as a matter of fact, the game wins, you don't. Now if you've got a lot of if you've got a big account, there's a difference, because if you've got a big account, guess what, you're gonna be able to basically, if the price backs you up into a corner, you can continue to lever more capital, right, and scale in, right? So if you get backed up, add more. If you get backed up more, you can add more. You can add 2 times as much, 3 times as much. It depends on how you scale, right? And there's a whole dance to that kind of business that I still haven't really taught anybody yet. And but this is as simple as it gets. I mean, I just turned the thing on. Viola, we got action right here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for these equity markets to do something, right? So now it's kind of forming a top here. I'll see if this is going to be a top. I'll see if it's going to bounce off that. We are a little bit overbought here. It could come in, maybe back down to here. This I expect this 34 EMA to probably run up here to 56.40. That's what this level is right here. And this price probably come down there at some point. Now, if I can short this, then I will, and I will try to take a ride on the bear here, and meet there halfway down. So I will look at the other charts here. See what else we've got cooking. Alright, so overnight on the 6E, that's the euro. Looks neutral to me. Yep, neutral with a bullish day yesterday. Looks like some profit taking. We got a G20 meeting happening in Squaremini right now. That is the Merkel house. And so looks like the meeting kind of blew this up. No, this is too early. This is... Okay, this was actually 2 hours before that. So this is about the American ADP jobs report. All right, it was some jobs report. I'm not sure that it was the ADP, but the thing messed with the euro here significantly. That would have been a good ride there. You could have made a ton of money if you know how, and I'll teach you how later in the videos. All right, so let's chart this thing out. That's a swing high, but I don't think that it's really effective. I'm gonna go ahead and say that was just basically a train wreck right there. That's not the real chart. Okay. This is looking like Bay territory. Looks like they really didn't agree with this bit right here. They agreed with this bit right here. Okay. And look at this. They hit that pretty hard. Tested it again. Tested it a second time. And I guess they're calling this resistance right here, and that's what it's bouncing off of. So either this is a cup and a handle and then we get a little breakout to the upside, or it's gonna bounce off of here. This is looking really squirmy here. I mean, it's Friday, so like there's not really anybody home at this time in markets in Europe, which are probably the main traders in the euro. So I'm hesitant about trading that. I kind of like to trade these markets if I've got both Europe and America trading them. Just that way I've got the most volume in there. Right, so so that way when the chart says something, everybody goes, yeah, the chart said it, and they all go at the same time. There's no doubt about it. But when it's a lazy Friday, you got half the Americans gone, you got all the Europeans gone. Chart could do anything, and I don't trust it. It's gonna cost me a lot. Alright, so the gold, I'll go ahead and drop these for now. Okay, take a look there. There's kind of a neutral day yesterday. Looks to me like a short inventory overnight, and then a good sell-off here. This would have been a short opportunity, although it is counterintuitive to how I would take the market at this time, as in the dollar situation and the inability of Congress to pass a tax resolution. This kind of thing right here makes you kind of think that there must be some knowledge of this tax resolution getting cut and solved along with the Obama scare, and so that's why gold is selling off, right? Because if those things weren't going to happen, you would want to be accumulating gold. And what I've noticed recently is that the gold has been sliding off fairly expediently, and it's either there's a lot of confidence right now in the Trump situation, or the program that depresses price on the gold field has kicked into overtime, and so it's just drawing it down as hard as possible. But I'll tell you what, if it goes down low enough, all that's going to happen here is that accumulators are going to kick in full time, because not everybody's in the program, you understand? Now, I do believe that the program can control, and the completely control the whole thing. I think that which is a disaster in the making. But basically, if you have infinite dollars, which the banking system does have infinite dollars, okay, I can outlay how you can get infinite dollars in the way that the laws allow them, and also the extortion, right? Police and military backed extortion allow them to do it from the top, and then the regular banks at the bottom. So central bank at the top, regular banks at the bottom, federal government, guarding the whole thing. Now the thing is that infinite dollars can systematically in algorithms constantly feather the price down, and so they just constantly acquire more and more short contracts. That's all they're doing. And the thing is that if they pull the trigger and they go ahead and buy to cover, they could put gold at something like $5,000 or something an ounce, right? So there is that fiasco. The other thing is that everybody else, including them at the same time if they want to, can or will continuously accumulate more and more gold futures, right? Far beyond what there really are as far as gold. And this is one of the problems that the Professional Business League talks about a lot on the underground economic news, not the mainstream surface news. That's all. They filter out what those guys are going to say, right? They basically, it's like communist North Korea, right? You don't get caught talking about the real gigantic problems about these situations on mainstream media, right? Or else, okay. I mean, I don't know. They won't get you. They may. I don't know. They may snoop on you and follow you, but for the most part, you just won't be back on with them, and they may just cut off your line, in the middle of your talk. They'll definitely interrupt you and then try to counter you aggressively, right? Which they're good at. They're paid to do that. Okay, now the thing is that if you are constantly, if you have hedge funds, just hedge funds alone, all right, the banks too, right? Because they're basically hedge funds. Okay, and these institutions, now these are the giant institutions that actually control prices. Okay, in the normal way, not let's just talk about the normal way. Okay, not this crazy way that the cabal does it. Okay, basically they're professionals that are gonna make money year after year after year, right? Okay. Now there's always somebody losing, and they actually say that it's probably about 90% of participants, right? So basically, why? Because, well, everybody starts out fresh, not knowing what to do, and then second of all, they give up and they don't continue, and so there's always this turnover rate of people that try and then they fail and then they quit. Okay, so. And that happens all around the world, and it continuously happens. And there are, amateur hedge funds, right, and so on. Right? There's also amateur elite investors. Not elitist. I'm not talking about the globalist bloodsuckers. just talking about, wealthy people and elite people that go ahead and try these things, and then they wind up losing their money in there, and so all of this stuff goes to the people that know what they're doing. Okay, that's what it's for. It's kind of like being a professional operator. If you know where to plug the money, okay, based on where it's needed rather than where it's not needed or whateverness, then you get to win what's in the ante. That's how it works. And so that's how the whole system gets done. Otherwise, we're in a Great Depression. Now, do you know what the world was before the American stock market? It was the Great Depression. So for tens of thousands of years, it was just one long Great Depression. And then we got boosted here.
Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression.
And then
Everybody's out of work.
then we got the stock market, the protected capitalism, the advent of capitalism underneath the Constitution, and then central bank got control of the money. They created a Great Depression, okay, and then, well, that's what they do. And so Viola, we're it's just a flashback to what the world was before all of this. Okay. Yeah, I gotta say this is getting too close to the close on the gold. Wow, look at that NASDAQ. It just kept on going. I'm glad I wasn't watching this, otherwise I would have been wondering, why didn't I get more of that? Alright, now, here's the thing. So if they're constantly buying, they're constantly making money in these institutions, they're obviously going to constantly be buying more gold. And if they're constantly worried about the dollar and these fiascos in the system, right? Everybody knows that central banks are fiascos. Everybody, that's anybody, right? There are little tag-along ducklings everywhere, right? And they're making good money. But the pros of the pros, they know, and they know it's not sound. So of course they invest in more gold. You don't invest in gold just at random. Anytime you increase your capital wealth, you have to increase your gold holdings. It's just something that you have to do, because if the economy were crashed and you're knowing that there are people, criminals like the mafia, that will cut the thing down at their leisure, okay, for their intentions, which I can explain all about, then you need gold, because gold is what's going to keep your wealth and keep you going in your business, in your trade, and also in your personal life. So to make ends meet, you buy your insurance in that precious metal. So constantly these people are going to be buying gold. Now, one thing that this price suppression does is it tells the world that, things are not that bad. Okay? But at the same time, a lot of the pros know that there is price suppression in the gold of hundreds of trillions of dollars. What does that mean? I think basically what that means is that there are hundreds of trillions of dollars in short contracts. Well, let's take a look with the calculator here. 100 trillion. There is a million, 100 million, 100 billion, 100 trillion. Divided by, let's just say 2,000. So there are 50 billion futures contracts. Let's double that, because it's double that, because there's actually 200 and some, and we're just gonna go 200 trillion worth, which is $100 billion directly. Now, naturally, they're going to use leverage. Okay? Leverage is just going to be like, you only have to put in $5,000. Uh-oh, look at the oil. Money's getting made over here. Let's see what happened overnight. Let's see. Looks like we had a rotation day here, up and then down, and closed at the lows. It's bearish. Then we got short inventory, and then we've got sell off at the moment. Okay, I'm going to mark this chart out. Wow, I tell you, they may be buying this thing right here. It's hard to tell because, you know, this looks really bearish right here. It came down, it barely came up, and then it got slammed down. And then it broke through resistance here, walks on support. Okay. Runs up here, bounces off resistance. Okay. Doesn't get down to support quite yet. I'm kind of in between here, and it's getting that time of day. I think this is the only market that I'm interested in at the moment. The equities look kind of toppy. Maybe there's a short in them. I think I'll give them a minute before I go. Get some more information there. And so anyway, let's keep an eye on equities and oil. I'm out of everything else, I think. So where was I? I was talking about the money. Okay, so they're naturally going to use leverage. Now, for me, all I need to do is basically put down $5,000 per contract in these futures markets. Okay, roughly $5,000. Okay, and then I can access a contract that's worth far more than that. Now, the reason why they ask for $5,000 is because basically you're going to you're not gonna. It's not likely that the market's just gonna, like, you know, you're not gonna get in long and then you're just gonna get slammed all at one time, right? And then you're gonna lose all of their leverage that they gave you, right? So that $5,000 is collateral, and then they put in the rest. Right? They just have capital sitting, so that's what they do, is they lease it out. Then they get trading fees. They also get interest. It's not a lot of interest. You know how big the trading fees are, and and that's what I get out here. Now on the inside, they get better, right? So figure that. Now figure that this is direct. Wait, hold on. That $5,000 is for an S&P 500 E-mini contract. That $5,000 is more than a gold contract, because the gold contract is only about $2,000. So actually, I don't know the numbers on that, but I'll tell you what, if they're giving them leverage, okay, they've probably got more than 100 billion contracts in gold, right? Short. Just to keep that price marker feathered down. Okay, that's it. That's all they're doing is the algorithms. Kind of like, imagine like the Philia and how they're kind of waving things away from stuff in a liquid, right? And they just, all they do is just the little string hairs are like little tiny fingers in the liquid, and they just keep things from going past them in a wave constantly. Okay, that's what their algorithms are doing. They're just constantly keeping the price down, constantly overriding all of the buying. They've been doing that for who knows how long. Actually, I don't even know, but it's probably several years, at least 5, probably 8 or more. The thing is, though, is that I wouldn't doubt that it's 200 billion contracts to perhaps 400 billion. If it's better than that, I wouldn't be surprised, because these institutions, they get better deals on leverage, right? Because they trade in bulk, right? So now figure that if they wanted to buy to cover, right, they could run the price sky high. There's nothing that could stop them. There's not enough money in the world. You know, it's a couple $100 trillion. You know, so they could. I have no doubt in my mind they could put the gold at $10,000 an ounce, and I actually think that at some point the world would just start buying in with them, and they could bring it up there to $20,000 an ounce. This is how corrupt and insane, you know, that this is. And how do they get away with it? Well, they kill you. That's how. If you get in the way, they don't care if you are a king, a queen, an emperor, a president, a prime minister, a chancellor, you name it, or a general, or whatever. Okay? If you step in the way, they are going to do you. And these people have killed over 1 billion people. In my research, that's what I've found out. Okay? Your civil wars, wherever you are, in America or anywhere else in the world, those Marxist civil wars. Okay? There are other civil wars besides that, like the American Civil War. You wouldn't think that was a Marxist civil war. It was a central bank funded civil war. Okay? They have been here all along. They have been around even before America. Those British wars over there, that war zone around the world, okay, they were doing genocides. They were doing, sack and conquer, make it Britain. Okay? Well, how do they do that? How do they afford so much war? They just make up the money. And dead soldiers don't need paychecks. And then when you conquer a new land, you get everything, right? So if you've got infinite bucks, you've got infinite wars, and therefore, theoretically, you've got infinite domain. Now, they stopped warring, and then they started getting into like poison food, poison medicines, that kind of thing, because you can make a ton of money on that. Actually, they're making more money on that than they ever did on the wars. Okay? Now, basically what that means is if you don't know what's going on, your family, your descendants are all going to be retards with cancers, and they're going to deform your genes so that your gene pool just gets worse and worse. They're even going to sterilize you. Okay? So it's a different kind of war. It's a science war. And if, a lot of these guys, I know a lot of patriots, and they are gung-ho, and they are serious, and they are smart. They are fully aware of everything, but they take everything in terms of guns and bombs. Okay? They don't take anything in terms of science and technology, which is where they're at, and it's more powerful. Okay? if you understand leverage, then you understand the you can't flip a car over with a baseball bat on top of an anvil, but a baby can flip over a car with 100-foot steel beam as straight as an arrow on like a rock the size of a washing machine. Okay, so if you've got swords and spears, you've got a war. But if you've got guns, right, machine guns, then you've got leverage, right? Because you can kill more soldiers with less soldiers. You understand? So, and if you've got bombs, you've got more leverage, right? Because you can kill more soldiers, more citizens, with less people, with less soldiers. You understand? So all the power is in the technology. Understand? And then if you've got intel, okay, and your systems are organized, okay, per spec, the way that the universe works, not some utopian, la-di-da organization, okay? Then you've got even more leverage, right? Because you don't have to have as much assets and individuals in order to defeat as many people, right? More people with less people. Okay? And then, if you get down into the chemistry, just cheap chemistry, okay, and you're causing sicknesses, you're causing cultural problems, because if people have mental problems that you caused, okay, then you're causing, people to become dependent on the state. Okay? And not only that, if you're teaching them to be dumb and disorganized, right? So instead of being correct in the universe and organized in the universe, you make everybody taught to be incorrect and lottie-dottie utopian stupid, okay? Then people can't survive. They become dependent on the government, right? And so all that does is causes the government to say, hey, we got to vote for, more spending, because everybody's dependent. Where you're sick, you're stupid, you got everything going wrong with you. So we got to borrow some more money. And so people buy that with their votes because they can't buy smarts. They don't want to, and it's just, that's the way that, if you understand empires based on religions, that's how it goes. Okay. That's the religion. And then the thing is that, see, socialism works like this. If you can guarantee that people need the government, then all you got to do is line up a corporation that basically can do the job. So let's say you make a ton of people mentally ill, okay? Since birth, they got maladies from inside the womb. They've got development problems outside the womb. Okay. And then they got cancers, and then they're in trouble, and they got drug problems because you're selling them drugs at the same time, right? All the same empire. Now, so they got huge problems. So what kind of deals can you do here? Well, basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to tax people, right? So take taxes and then pay the central bank. That's their money. So what you do for work becomes theirs, and then everybody else with all these problems that they make, okay, they're just going to pump out more fake money. Okay, so they pump out fake money. The government says, okay, we're going to cut some socialist contracts here for these let's say medical, the medical industries. We got insurances. They got to pay for all this research and these pills. So the cost of pills goes sky high. All of the medical supplies go sky high. Okay, and so all of these people are screwed up and crazy and sick, and therefore we have a humanitarian reason to vote for them in this Marxist, dumb utopian concept, in order to borrow more money from the central banks. Now, the central banks just make up money. Okay? It's magic. And when they do that, basically people will go, what? They're going to go, hey, what are you doing? You can't make up money out of thin air. That's what I would do, right? Okay. Or anybody could do that. So they got, basically what they got to do is they got to take away your ability to be able to say that. So what has to happen? They got to launder the money. Okay. So how do you launder the money? Well, they don't just give them money. They say, okay, we're going to purchase your bonds, okay, your government treasuries. Now, if you understand bonds, then I think you're home free. You kind of get it. Okay. Corporations have bonds. There's bonds. You can get bonds on a lot of things. As a contractor, I used to have to get bonds to ensure if there were any problems that there was money in a bond and ready to compensate. Okay, so there's different kinds of bonds. There's different purposes for bonds. Now, they make up money. They buy these bonds. The purchasers in these central banks, they get automatic dividends and other perks. They make basically between them all per country. Okay, specifically in the U.S., they make in the billions. Alright, so let's take a look here. Looks like this oil's getting bullish here. I'm probably being fooled here, because I bet you there's just not enough volume here, and the computers are just, because this is kind of a jacked up chart. Okay, so basically when they get those bonds, okay, now the interest is your taxes, okay? So that's how they're making money on that, like that. And then the government generates more taxes because they're borrowing this money, okay? Right, so central banks are getting paid your taxes, which is interest on the money. And that money that they're borrowing, or they're lending or whatever, goes into the socialist companies, right? The mandatory health insurance companies, or even private health insurance companies, that are all going to pay taxes, right? But if you mandate that you don't just pay for these with taxes now, that you have to take your checks and put it into these companies. Well, that's the greatest thing for them, because now they're getting paid directly from you. They don't even have to tax you, but it is a tax. It's a different kind of tax. Okay, but they're not. The insurance companies are not the only ones that get to do that. All the hospitals, all the anybody who's in the medical industry, okay, has these enormously high bills, these enormously high costs, because they know that they can always go to these institutions where there's tons of capital. And there's always a percentage of it being taxed. They have very high taxes on all this stuff. So between being mandated to purchase and the taxes, okay, then that goes back to the government, right? So it starts out as magic money, and then it's given to the corporations out there, right? And then it's paid back to them in taxes and mandate money, same thing. And there you go, Viola. Then they owe those taxes back to the central banks. So all they do is they wash it through the system. That's what socialism is about. It's just washing enormous amounts of money through entire nations. Okay? So socialism is a corporate, Marxist, or actually communist, what would you call that? Perhaps a Ponzi scheme? I gotta figure that out. But it's a kind of pyramid kind of scam. Okay, and that's just one cabal. Isn't that unique? Now, the thing is, though, is they've got other corporations involved, right? So, let's go. Monsanto's the one that stands out really big. Okay, so they control the genes on food, and then they make you sick. And so these are both government entities, okay? The medical ones and these genetically modified, and one works for the other. One makes the other possible. Well, I'll take that right there. Okay. So that was a quick $40. I'll probably be done with this. If it breaks out here, I'm listening. Alright. And then as far as the equities go, see that? See how it's getting sleepy. Alright, probably just one more trade. Now look at the MACD on the bottom. See how it's turning red there? Okay. I don't doubt that this oil is going to keep on going, but I'd rather not pay it. there it goes. Well, it did go higher. All right, so and then so the Monsanto makes you sick, right? Now Monsanto's still making taxes. They're in the scheme. They're in the business. Okay, you know, they're giving a lot of legal headway so that they can do what they do. They can take over entire, you know, food crop industries with their toxic food seeds. They even stated that they want to change all of the genetics of all the food around the world. Now, who would be so insane? I mean, you gotta be like a kitty weirdo to be thinking on that level. So they force their way. Now remember, growth is everything. So if they can continuously grow, they can continuously bring in more money. Therefore, they're going to continuously pay more taxes. Okay, and yeah, I'm not going to just go and tell you write the whole book here, but they are extremely good at what they do. And it's power. They've got a lot of legal power behind them. Why? Because the Marxist elitists with their central banks and all that, okay, that's what they want. They want that kind of thing. You don't understand. They have this, they love the science war. They love this mass control via chemistry and technology. Okay? You're a thing to them. Right? Your ability to compete with them threatens their livelihoods. Well, look at this. Okay, so they like that kind of thing. Staying rich, staying powerful. Now remember, supply and demand actually it affects them just by being humans. The more humans that there are, the more risk there is to them. Okay, because they could be eliminated, right? With more people, they could be overpowered. Especially more people that are knowing things, right? Because intelligent masses with killer elitist minorities in the world, it's a very enormous risk. So therefore the value of everything that they do and that they are and that they have becomes less because there's so many human beings, right? So their human being, the human value is less in supply and demand, you know, laws, relatively speaking. So if they eliminate masses, then their value goes up because there's less risk against them, right? And that's just a fundamental concept, that the more risk that there is involved with something means that the less it's worth. Like, let's say that snaps, we'll just call a new currency snaps were a very popular currency, okay? And it was something that the people did, okay? And so if people won't do business in dollars anymore. Some people will, but you've got to buy, one snap for every $3, and or more, maybe 10, depends on how much you've got. And basically, you've got to go, okay, well, a lot of people won't do business in dollars because you guys are these usurpers, right? You're cabal. So they don't want, this is evil money. It's cursed. So if you're going to do business with somebody that is going to sell you some snaps because you want to get out of dollars, because you still want to remain wealthy, and it's a risk to take on that much, dollars and then try to find somebody that will take them from you, right? Then you've got to ask for more and more, right? The risk involved in those dollars doing that trade means that the dollars are worth less and less. Okay, so it works the same way with people, right? If being an elitist, corrupt, mass murderer that's causing genetic deformities and everything else means that you're at risk, then you're not worth as much as you could be if you were just alone on the earth and there was no other people, right? So how are you going to get out of that? Now, Monsanto is not the only deal. There's lots of deals like that. But basically, it's basically the same thing as, when the bad fellas, they go, okay, well, you need to pay for protection, right? And then it protects you from us. It's basically that kind of thing, but it's even worse, because if you just pay that kind of bastard, then you're still going to be able to do all right. Right? You're still going to have your health and your brains, and your kids are still going to be normal. Right? But in this case, they're going to feed you street drugs. Right? They're going to give you free money to go and do booze and drugs, to buy their drugs. They deal drugs. The biggest drug dealers in the world is this cabal with government protection, with military and police protection. They're into these things where they're making 1,000% profit. Right? That's what they're into. Okay, and then now you're all messed up. So what do you got to do? You gotta vote for them, right? So you give us your votes, give us your taxes, because when we get their votes, then we're gonna get your taxes. And they do the whole wash thing, right? And they're just constantly fabricating money and then washing it, right? In the biggest ways, that right here in front of everybody's eyes. And people don't know. And I'll tell you, if you sit down and talk to 9 out of 10 people about these things, they're not gonna listen. You know why? Because they've never heard this on the news. They think that the news is the church, right? The priest has to come out and on CNN and say, not necessarily the church, maybe the pyramid temple of doom or something, but whatever. That's the only faith that they're going to believe in. They're not going to believe in just the average person. Now, if they hear it from enough people, they'll start to listen, right? So it's going to take time for the internet to get everywhere. But it's working. I would say it's working. Look at that oil. Let's see. What was this? Was this the oil? Yeah. Wow. That actually did pretty well. Right? Yep. I missed out on quite a bit of money there. We'll see what it does. I bet you it just ranges. Alright, well, I'm going to call it a day, and good luck to you. I'll show you some other kind of trading skills and some other videos. Good luck.